Hello, good morning, and welcome to this webinar about the safety standard EN 62368-1. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. This is Rafael Gonzalez. I'm in charge of the safety department, electrical safety area of DECRA Malaga. My experience in this sector, in the safety standard, is for more than 25 years, always working with safety equipment. And to perform some questions. Okay, first of all, I would like to say that before we had two different standards. One of them is for audio equipment. This standard is the 6665, and ITE standard, information technology equipment standard, that is very very known standard for over the world. That is the 6950 standard. Both standards, the 65 standard, audio and video, and the ITE standard, the 950 standard, joined many years ago, about 10 years ago, in this new code of standards, 62368, that this standard in the first edition is not very useful. It's a new standard with new definition, but not is very used because it's not harmonized, and the sector is difficult to change the construction of the equipment. Then we in 2000 the standardization committee issued a second edition that is the current edition in the European Union, and is the edition are harmonized for the low voltage directive. This new standard has a date in which we have to comply with it. This date is the 20th of next December. In this date, the standard 6950 and the standard 6065, the audio and ITE standard, not give conformity with the low voltage directive. then the manufacturer, importer, have to change to 62368 standard before to the 20th of December of this year. Regarding to the CE marking, we have to take in account that we use this standard as harmonized standard, and then if we meet the standard, we meet the essential requirement of the directive, essential requirement included in the Annex 1 of the Low Voltage Directive. But we can use this standard in both different scenarios. One of them, we can apply this standard as product standard. If my product is a IT product, a laptop, a mobile phone, a computer, we have to apply the new 62368. But if I have audio and video equipment, or is the product standard for audio and video equipment too, then we have to comply with this standard as product standard. But we have to take into account that some products that nowadays many electronic products will belong to other safety standards like a household, luminaire, control of luminaire, and so on, include wireless technology. This wireless technology has an additional requirement. This additional requirement is a REC directive, the Radio Equipment Directive. To meet the Radio Equipment Directive, the Telecom Directive say that any product have to comply with LVD directive. Therefore, depend of the notified body of the RED directive, it's possible that my product has two different applicable standards. One standard for product standard, for example, a household with wireless technology shall be in compliance with the product standard, the household standard, the 6335 standard, plus the standard for radio equipment. From the side of safety, this standard with this one, the 62368. Then, for many cases, in which I have a product which have a standard of product like luminaire, household, and so on, that include wireless technology, we take in account that we have or we should be applied two different standards, product standard and wireless standard, from safety side point of view. Regarding to the scope of the new standard, before we said that this standard was the joint of audio-video standard and ITE standard. Of course, the new scope of this standard includes both equipment. Always keep the exception of the 600 volts of maximum volts for supply of the equipment. This standard not include any functional requirement. It's only safety aspect. In this safety aspect, as same as similar safety standard, is not only electrical aspect. This standard has requirement for electricity, for mechanical, for thermal, for radiation, different aspects included in the essential requirement of the directive, of the low voltage directive. Of course, this standard is applicable to the full equipment, to the complete equipment, but also for assembly or sub-assembly or power supply of the equipment included in the scope. In the second edition, we have an exception in order to continue use power supply which met the old 6950 or 6065 standard. But the last version of this standard is not edition 2. The edition 2 is the version harmonized in Europe, but IEC this year, the European Standardization Committee issued the edition 3. But this edition 3 of this standard not include this exception and is not harmonized yet. Of course, for CE marking, you should have to comply with the edition 2. Regarding to the scope of this standard, it's relevant that the standard include 3 types of people with related with the equipment: ordinary people, instructed person, and skilled person. After that, we explain this new definition better. For outdoor device, we have another message to you. For in the second edition, the outdoor device shall be tested with additional requirement of the 6950 standard. The 6950 standard has a part 2 of the standard, a particular standard that is 6950-22. This -22 is for outdoor equipment. Then, nowadays, for CE marking, we have to comply with the second edition plus the standard 6950-22 if my equipment is installed outdoors. However, if I are applying or testing against the edition 3 of the standard, the edition 3 of the 62368 standard, then there is a new annex, the Annex Y, in which the standard already includes the requirement for outdoor equipment. Summarize, if you have an outdoor device and you are applicable the second edition, you have to add in your standard, in your safety standard, the standard 6950-22, but if you are applying the edition 3 of this 62368 standard, it's not necessary to add other standard because the Annex Y included. Well, in your screen, you can see the short introduction of the different clauses of this new standard, in which we classify the hazards in electrical, thermal, chemical, mechanical, and radiation energy. In this standard, is different, the philosophy of the standard is different, and this standard delayed the word of basic insulation or supplementary insulation, rubber insulation that you usually use in the standard before. And this standard delayed also other very useful concept like search circuit, ELV circuit. This standard delayed this definition. And this standard classified the different hazards regarding to the nature of the hazard of the device, and look for or require a safeguard for this hazard. Okay. Additionally, I would like to say that this standard has other inside of this family of the standard. This is the standard DAS3, the 62638-3 is an additional standard of this family, in which we have or we find particular requirement for DC power transfer through to the communication. Okay, when the equipment fed through to the communication wire or communication port, you can use this DAS3 standard. This DAS3 standard is not harmonized in Europe, and is not in some country, is not recognized. Okay. Regarding or following with the new philosophy of the standard, this standard, first of all, identify a hazardous energy. Review the mechanism, the transfer mechanism regarding to the person related with the device. In this way, we can classify the energy in 3 levels and in 3 colors. You find the class 1 energy is green color, and this is safe. This is not painful, and this is safe, and you can access to this kind of energy. This is similar like a search circuit for electrical part in the standard before. There is a second level of energy. This is the color is yellow, and it's the class 2 energy. And this energy begins to be painful, but not cause an injury. This is in the classification before, in the standard before, you can speak about the ELV circuit or a TMV circuit, telecom circuit. It's dangerous, but in particular scenarios. And we have a last class. This is the class 3, energy source class 3. The red color is for identified, and this class of energy is injury, and the user cannot access to this kind of energy. In this way, the class 1 source of energy is always safe in normal operation, in abnormal operation, and in single fault condition. Okay? You always is safe touching a part that has a class 1 of energy. In a level 2 of energy, okay, we check the different parameters that the standard gives me to check it, that after we can review this parameter. But this class 2 of energy is maybe painful. Then you can access to this kind of energy only if in different situations, a specific situation, but not always. It's not possible to continue has an access to this kind of energy. And the level 3 of energy, like we say, that is not possible to access, is capable of causing an injury in the user. Then I have my 3 levels of energy, depending of the hazard dose, and the standard required different safeguard, different isolation, we can say, but not only from electrical part only, but the standard defines like a safeguard between the hazard of energy and the person related to the device. Of course, the standard includes double safeguard when it's necessary, and like 6950 or 6065 standard say, when I have a class 3 of energy, a hazard of energy, the standard requires to me 2 levels of safeguard, a basic safeguard and a supplementary safeguard. Okay, the definition is very similar, like insulation, basic insulation, and supplementary insulation. But in this case, we speak as safeguard because this safeguard is not only insulation. We have another kind of safeguard because this standard, for example, includes the warning on the user manual or a warning on the enclosure of the equipment as an instructional safeguard. And then it's possible that one of these safeguards required by the standard has a text on the enclosure of the equipment or a text included in the user manual, depending on the level of energy and the nature of the energy. Of course, the equipment may have a safeguard, a robustness safeguard that comply the basic and supplementary safeguard requirements, but in one piece. Then, in this way, a reinforced safeguard is possible regarding to the new standard. Before we spoke about the general concept for different types of people or persons related to the equipment. Then, here you can see the 3 different types of people that the standard includes. First of all, we include the ordinary person. This is a person that not has any training in electricity, mechanical, or so on. This is the normal user. This is the user that the old standard 6950 or 6065. This is the normal person. We have an additional person that in this standard that is instructed person. Instructed person has a trainer or a supervisor by a skilled person. This is a person that receives a short training special for this device. For example, we can think in a vending machine, for example, the person who replaces the products into vending machine that have to open the machine and to access with limitation that they can access to the inside of the machine, touching some electrical part that is not has a qualification. This is only a short training. This is a instructed person. This is a maintenance person, more or less. And we have a 3 level of people that is a skilled person. A skilled person is a person who has a complete training or experience in the technology in order that to identify the hazard and can access to the device. Regarding to the device, the location where the device is installed, we can different people, different kind of person in my reviewing, in my checking of the standard. Okay. In this way, this standard summarized, or in short, we speak about different level of energy, depending on the nature. Then we speak always about the equipment in order to classify the equipment, to identify the different energy. We identify or we classify the equipment in different parameters. From the point of view of the electricity energy, like ES, letters with the thermal energy, in order that this thermal energy from electricity cause fire, we classify the equipment like PE, PS. From mechanical, I use the acronym MS. From thermal, from heating, I use the acronym ES. And for radiative, I use the acronym RS. These acronyms, ES, PS, MS, and so on, I have to add to these acronyms a number of 1, 2, or 3, depending of the energy. No? In this way, here in your screen, you can see a sample of the test report in which I classify the different connector of the device, like from the electrical part, like ES 1, 2, or 3, and the different connector from the part of cause a fire from the electricity, like PS 1, 2, or 3, depending on the energy. Then, when you review a test report regarding to this standard, to the 6236A standard, you can find an overview table which classify all different parts of the device, of the equipment, with different level of energy. Okay, now we begin with the electricity part of the standard which cause injury. You say, probably better than me, that electric shock is hazardous for people. Then I have to check the magnitude, duration, and frequency, and of course, the shape of the wave of the electricity that my equipment has. In this way, I have to check the port, the accessibility, the electrical part of the device in ES 1, 2, or 3. In this way, I use ES 1 like an electricity level of energy, okay, that not cause injury for people. Taking account that we have to check this electricity port in normal and normal condition and in single fault condition. Level ES2 means that this equipment has a different part, electrical part, that cannot be accessible for everybody. And ES3 is like the old standards say, the hazard voltage. In the next table, you can see different voltage and current according to classify the different circuits. You classify a circuit like ES1 if the voltage is lower than 60 volts or the current is 2 milliamperes. If my device meets one of them, voltage or current, my connector or my circuit that I have analyzed at this moment can be classified as ES1. You can see in the diagram on the right part of the screen that you have to comply or voltage or current in order to give the conformity with the classification of different levels. Okay? ES1 is synonymous like a self-circuit. For example, a USB connector is a ES1 circuit. You can access to this connector to USB port is a safe way. A ES2 level is now safe or only safe in some situation, and then you can access with limitation. For example, a telecom circuit. And ES3 is hazardous, it's dangerous, and you never can access to this kind. For example, when I have a power supply, connect to the socket outlet, connect directly to the mains to 230 volts, this is classification, this is classified, the EC mains is classified as ES3, and I cannot access. Of course, the audio signal has a bit of different level of voltage in order to classify the image. This is the same like the 6065. Take into account that this standard is based in the old audio and video standard. Then keep on going with the same limits for audio circuits. Regarding to the safeguard, the standard includes 4 ways to protect the user, the different operator, no? The ordinary person, instructed person, and skilled person from a dangerous, from a hazardous. Then the designer of the product can use different type of safeguard. Insulation as a safeguard, a material, a plastic enclosure. The designer can use a protective conductor as a safeguard, the protection earth, the protective earth of the socket cowler of your building installation is a safeguard. You have to use an enclosure as a safeguard, is separating the hazardous parts, the level class 3, the circuit class 3, or using a grid like a separation, like in order that the user not gain the access to the inside of the equipment, or you can use a component as a safeguard. A component as a safeguard, for example, is very used in the transformer when you use a isolation transformer, in power supply, in switching power supply. Always you can capacitor or optocoupler that bridging the primary and secondary circuit in this kind of switching power supply. Then this component is building a safeguard, and then they are a safeguard too. And this standard includes one of the more relevant new annex of the standard, that is the Annex G, Golf, G. Then this annex has many requirements for the component. You can say that when I use the isolation as a safeguard, I have to check it, the clearance, clippage, the safety distance, the usually safety distance, and I have to check it, the hypo test, like people say, that is the electric strength test or insulation resistance test. The standard changed a lot to also in this safety distance and insulation test, because now there are 3 different methods, but in general, this method is more lighting than the standard before. The clippage not reduced, but clearance reduced a bit, and the electric strength test voltage reduced a bit. Now this standard is easiest to comply from this point of view, from the insulation point of view. If one of the solutions from safeguard is to use the protective earth conductor, and has the similar requirement than the EN 6950 or 6665 standard. It's very similar. In this chapter, we check the size of the conductor, the different materials in the protective earth way, and I check it, of course, the resistance of the resistance between accessible part connected to PE and the connection to the building installation, in order that is less than 0.5 ohms. If you use the enclosure like a safeguard, take into account that this standard has a new annex. This is the Annex T, Tango, okay, Annex T, in which is included all mechanical requirement for the enclosure of grid of the device. This requirement is very similar to the 6950 requirement or 6065 requirement. Change a bit only in stability tests and so on after we check. Don't worry. And regarding to the accessibility, this is relevant to say that we use a new pin, a new accessibility proof in order to check the accessibility of the product. No? Then the standard includes now a children test finger. Of course, it's logic because children has a smaller size. And we add a new proof for opening, that is a web proof, that is to check in this kind of grid. The blank proof is similar than the TMB proof that we have before, and the terminal proof is very similar than the proof that the 6665 in the audio video equipment has. Regarding to safety critical component, when you use a component like a safeguard or a component bridging a safeguard, basic or reinforced safeguard, you always use that this component always as certified as component standard. Then, if I have a capacitor between line and earth, I ask that this capacitor meet the component standard, the capacitor standard. Capacitor standard is the standard 6384 standard. Okay, and we have to check it, this capacitor standard with the Annex G of this standard. Okay, here you can see an example that sometimes we have instead to bridge the safeguard with one component, I use two components to bridge a safeguard. Then both component is relevant component, is critical component, and have to comply with the Annex G and the own standard as component, but with the reduced requirement that the component bridging a complete a reinforced safeguard. Here in your screen you have a short summary of the component included in the Annex G of the standard. This component has to comply with the relevant component standard and with additional requirement included in the Annex G. Always you have to take in account that this component, that in order that the Annex G apply or not apply, is that the component used as a safeguard or component is connected to a dangerous voltage, or the component has a safety function, for example, a fuse, an optocoupler, and so on. If I have a fuse in a secondary circuit, a 5 volts, but it's a fuse and it's a overcurrent protection that its function is safety, then the Annex G apply. Here you have another example of the test report in which you have to check it. Then, first of all, to analyze the safeguard, first of all, we classify the circuits in the first column, in the left part. For example, SMA is classified as ES3, and I need different safeguard. I have basic safeguard and reinforced safeguard. For example, in this device of the sample, the antenna connector is not dangerous, is classified as ES1, and is not necessary safeguard, it's not applicable the safeguard. Okay, regarding to the electricity part, not from the electrical shock, however, we have to review the electricity from the part of view that causes a fire. Then the electricity causes a heating in a material, and this material can flame or ignite and produce a fire or spread the fire. Then we have to check it, the energy source, the electricity, the power of the energy in some part of my electrical circuit. I check it, the transfer mechanism, and I check finally the quantity of energy in order to classify the device. Then in this way, I classify the circuit, the device, in 3 different classifications. PS1 is an emission not likely to occur. Is energy less than 15 watts. PS2 is an energy may occur, it's an energy between 15 to 100 watts, more or less. And a PS3 is a ignition energy which like to occur, ignition like to occur, okay? We have to take into account, additional to the energy in a circuit, the potential location or point into the equipment that be potential initial source that cause a flame. In this way, I have two kinds of PIS. PIS, I have two different PIS. Arcing PIS or resistive PIS. Arcing PIS is located or is produced when a contact occurs. I have to have a high voltage. And a resistive piece produced only for dissipation of power. In this way, the standard requires a basic safeguard always in all kind of device. This basic requirement is to review that the temperature is level lower than 300 Celsius degree, and always use material with classification SB, okay, for flammability. The flammability class of the material shall have HB minimum. HB is similar than the test of glow wire test at 550 Celsius degree. It's similar for the third edition and the old 6950, but in the second edition it's not similar. And additionally, regarding to the classification of the product, we can add supplementary safeguard. This supplementary safeguard, I have two methods for this supplementary safeguard. One method is reduce the likelihood of ignition. Is to check when the equipment has not many components and easy electronic. I can check it in testing or conditional of abnormal condition and single fault condition test over the equipment that any fail or any single condition cause a fire. This is a method used for equipment with a power less than 4,000 watts only. But this method is not very used. It's currently this method only used when the method 2 is not possible to comply. Method 2 is the control fire spread method, and is the method which requires a fire enclosure. Okay, we contain the fire inside of my device and not spread to outside. This is the method. This is the useful method to use. Here you have an example in which we take a circuit in this kind. In this circuit, I put a classification of the circuit in different parts. You say that the separate level 3 classification from level 1 classification. Regarding to the peace point, you remember that peace point is this point in a circuit that have to produce a flame. This standard has a size for this flame. When I have a peace point in my circuit, the standard says that the flame rise ahead of 15 millimeters, We had to take in account that if I have a track in a PCB, the flame can occur along the track of the PCB in any side, or if I have a fan in our equipment, this flame, the cone of this flame can rotate. Okay. Here you have another example in which I have this is a LCD monitor, and you can see how we can classify the different part of the circuit. Here we have in the center part of the equipment, I have the hazard part. This is the energy 3 part, and the rest of the PCB has a reduced energy and has another classification. In this way, in this example, for this device, I am designing an enclosure of the equipment, and I have to review where I can put a grid to cooling the equipment. Of course, never put the grid, the opening, near to the ES3 or the PS3 part. Okay, I locate the grid or the opening in ES1 part. From the mechanical aspect of the new standard, is very similar than the 16950 or audio and video standard, in which we have to check the chart, the moving part, the formula to check the blades of the fan, depending of the material and speed and so on. And here it's relevant, for example, the equipment mass. If your equipment has a mass bigger than 7 kilograms, or is installed in wall or ceiling, you have different aspects to check it. In this way, the standard has instructional safeguard for protecting against mechanical hazard. In this way, you can see an overview of the stability requirement of the new standard, in which you take in account not only the test before of the old standard, like the static stability or the horizontal force where the equipment is located on the floor. This standard use or include new mechanical requirement like location equipment. It's not very difficult to meet. Taking account, here you have another example of test report of the overview table in which the mechanical aspect is classified. You can see that in the device under test, in this way, the sharp edge and corner, for example, is from mechanical aspect is classified as MS1, or the equipment mass is maybe lighted equipment. It's wall mounting, but regarding to the mass of the equipment and the height in which you mount or you install the device is not dangerous. If your equipment is device a height more than 2 meters or the mass is bigger, you have classified in a different way, and you have additional requirement for that. In this way, due to all classification regarding to the mechanical is MS1, the law of energy is low, and it's not necessary to say that, like you can say. Okay, and that's all. This webinar try to give you some information about this new standard that now from 20 of the next December is is applicable and is the only standard which gives presumption of conformity with the low voltage directive with for ITE equipment and for audio and video equipment. Here in your screen there is a web page is from CE marking information if you have any doubt, and I would like to say thanks for your attention of this webinar, and now we have some minutes to answer questions that you have. Okay, regarding to the question about if there are any traceability between 16950 and 62368 standard, there is the standard not include this traceability. We make a list of these additional requirements because the standard change a lot the philosophy of classification of the equipment and include new requirements and new tests. For example, is very relevant for battery. Battery has a new annex, the Annex M, Annex Mike in international alphabet, and Annex M has many requirements for battery, beginning from that the battery has to be in compliance with their own component standard, the battery standard. Usually is the 62133 standard. 62133 is for battery, for the most of the battery that we use in the IT equipment, but there is not a traceability. Then you have to, but you have not, it's not necessary to, when you want to transfer your device from 950 to 62368 standard, it's not necessary to perform the gold standard, the complete, the old test. You can use some tests of the 950, and you can add new tests from this new standard. Then it's necessary to only to perform a delta testing, only some clause of the standard. Regarding that the standard, that the question is the new standard 62368 standard is more restrictive than 16950 standard regarding to low voltage and EC. From the point of view of isolation, from safety distance, and from the electric strength, the AC standard, the AC equipment has less requirement. Okay, the level of the distance and the voltage is a bit reduced a bit. But regarding to other kind of requirement, like a mechanical requirement or flammability requirement, the level is bigger. Then, in short, we say that in good standard, in good answer, a complete answer, the new standard has more requirement than the old standard 950, 6950. because it's a more complete standard, because it has an additional requirement that the 16950 doesn't have. In general, the new standard uh, is totally different with the rest of the safety standard. In the beginning, 30 years ago, we had a few standards, the household standard and this standard, the 950 standard. And the rest of the standard that was created is supporting in the 950 and the 335 standard. And now, with this 62368 standard, the philosophy of the standard is totally different, it's very new, and breaks with the rest of the standard that we have in the sector. But it's from my point of view, it's a complete standard. In many sectors, it's not applicable this standard, for example, for military or for other kind of sector like ships or sector, or ask to comply with this standard because the requirement of safety has a good level. Then there is very order for people of other sectors, although the standard is not applicable. Okay, if we have not more questions, give thanks again for your for to you, and we continue doing this training, but with for more hours and for more aspects of the new standard. Thank you and see you.